Good morning, everybody. Hello. Everybody could move in a little bit, and it'd be great. Well, happy Sunday to everybody. I hope you're having a great Sunday morning. Nice and cool and crisp out there. This is week 4 of Thrive video series. This week we're going to talk about mind and relationships. And to go over a little bit, remember the 5 components of relationships and mind. That's 2. What else? Health. Finances, soul, mind, body, relationships. That's the 5. Today we're going to focus on mind and relationships. Let's open with a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, Lord, thank you for this opportunity to explore your word and explore new subjects, God, that might really need to be emphasized in our lives as we enter this 3rd phase. And some of us are in that 3rd phase, and Lord, we just ask you to consider what you have planned for us, and Lord, take it into our being. Help us to make the necessary changes that are always so difficult at times, but so necessary too. Lord, thank you for opportunities, and we love you in Jesus' name. Amen. As there's a prayer request book going around, and let's see, this week, I'm going to start out with something I came across this week in the Bible app, and it was quite good. It's called Pushing Through. Now, we're considering making a lot of changes in our lives. The past few weeks, we've looked at some things in the weeks to come, and it's so important to we get motivated, and we're going to make these changes, and it's going to be good, but then things start fading, and we meet resistance, and we have obstacles, and it's easy to get discouraged, especially if it's difficult. And let me read this thing. It's from David Villa. He's an author, he's a motivational speaker, a Christian guy. And could I have somebody read Matthew 17:20? Have a microphone. Matthew 17:20. Oh, we got it up already. Okay, there it is. Thanks, Debbie.
He replied, "Because you have so little faith. Truly I tell you, if you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, 'Move from here to there,' and it will move. Nothing will be impossible for you."
Nothing will be impossible for you. Absolutely. And if you got God as the motivator and the sustainer, nothing will be better than that than get us to the end. Okay, let me read this thing. People will do one of 3 things when they reach rock bottom, when things are very difficult. They will break out, they will break down, or they will break through. The time where you reach your lowest point is the same time where you'll reach your greatest moment of growth. Growing pains happen when you are on the verge of a breakthrough. When you're following the Word of God and you're adhering to the path that He has placed in front of you, then you will get to go through some very difficult at times growing pains. But don't give up. Don't give up. There will be seasons in which you feel stretched. Like after exercising, your stretch with your muscles is so very important for growth. It doesn't feel good, but it's oh so important. But if you maintain your focus and continue to push back against the resistance that you're facing, you will eventually push through it. You will succeed, and you have to be able to overcome the resistance. If you're going to succeed, you have to overcome the resistance that you will face along the way. You have to want it more. You have to be willing to change and transform. If you dream big, then your obstacles will also be big. They can be the end of the road or merely a detour in your path. Every story of success started with a road of resistance. Success doesn't come easy. It comes to those who are willing to push through the pain until they reach it. Often it is these obstacles and outside circumstances that provide us with the strength and knowledge to reach success in the places that we'd like to go. Everything that God does is for a reason and is done with a plan already in place. If you're going through something that keeps going and walk that extra mile, move that mountain, push through. He's a motivational speaker, but he had, it's a short Bible study on YouVersion. A lot of good things to say. That kind of the last very devotional he has before the end of the course. But very good. If you're making some changes, you need to stick to it. Well, the first sheet that you have is opportunity is, I can hold this up. You can see that. Opportunity is nowhere. But let's change it a bit. Opportunity is now here. Opportunity is now here. Grasp the opportunity. We're going to look at the mind this week to start out with. The first part of the video is on the mind. So one part of the body, it can decline and others will pick it up. It can strengthen and others that remain. Yes, it'll take work, but we're going to get through this purpose that will be in our life. As I begin to experience positive results, I'll feel the power that I have and have accomplished. Knowing that I can still do the things and overcome fear, I might never get to do them again. That gives me peace. The 3 P's, pleasure, peace, and purpose, make a huge positive difference for anyone as we work our way through life. Okay, if we could play the first part of the video, please.
Hello, and welcome back as we probe still deeper into the secrets of how to thrive for all your years ahead. The great poet and writer Maya Angelou spoke often about thriving. Her short, pithy way of saying it was, surviving is important, thriving is elegant. In our last session, I talked about thriving related to your body and your finances, 2 of the 5 parts of life. Did you notice how I conveniently skirted the tender subject of what happens if you develop physical problems? How do you thrive then? It's time to face those possibilities now. We're all likely to have some declines eventually. How to thrive regardless? The short answer is, whenever one of your abilities declines, strengthen the others that remain. When people lose their hearing, they heighten their sense of sight and learn to read lips. The reverse is true. People who lose their sight develop extraordinary skills of listening and touch. When they do, they function remarkably well. I hope I live long enough that as some natural limitations occur, I can still enjoy each day. I hope I live long enough that I need to face issues like giving up my driver's license and losing my independence in other ways. Give me another 20 or 25 years, and I may not have great mobility. I may need a walker. These changes are hard to face, but if you don't think about those possibilities, you won't be ready for them when they arrive. Given enough years, our bodies will begin to show wear. Regardless, it's still possible to love life and thrive. How to do that? Fortunately, we have lots of people to show us. There are people who have moved from surviving to thriving. Helen Keller and Stephen Hawking are examples of people with amazing lives who at the same time had serious physical limitations. Stephen Hawking developed a rare form of ALS that left him completely paralyzed except for a few muscles in his cheek. He uses those with a remarkable computer to speak and write. He became one of the world's leading scientists and authored more than a dozen books. Keller and Hawking are famous people who thrive despite limitations. There are thousands upon thousands of others, though not as famous, who have learned to thrive despite their limitations. There are soldiers severely wounded from battle, people injured in terrible accidents, and still others who live with birth defects. Regardless of those limitations, they go at life with gusto. You see, the central factor for their thriving isn't their circumstances as much as what's happening in their minds. Perhaps you prefer the word heart rather than mind. Heart is a good way to think about your inner being, your thoughts, your feelings, your opinions, your expectations. Have you heard the saying, the heart of the matter is a matter of the heart? Wise King Solomon put it this way, guard your heart above all else, for it determines the course of life. You're familiar with the 5 parts of life. To thrive, you need to be happy and strong with each of the 5 parts, your body, your mind, finances, soul, and relationships. If one part of you declines, you can still thrive by boosting the others. In fact, sometimes it's more glorious. Did you know that there are accomplished dancers who have been deaf all their lives? How do they do it? They don't hear the music, they feel it. They feel vibrations in the floor and pick up the tempo of the song. It's astonishing and beautiful. A deaf dancer probably enjoys dancing more than anyone. It's a huge accomplishment filled with purpose and pleasure and the peace of feeling like a complete person. You can imagine them thinking to themselves, I may not have my hearing, but I can still dance. There probably will come points when your body won't perform as well as it once did, or your capacity to earn new income may disappear. Those parts of your life may shrink. What do you do then? Boost the other parts of your life. Build your mind, your relationships, and your soul. When you talk with Paralympic athletes, they describe having to get the mental frame of mind right. Then they figure out ways to adapt and thrive. What about your limitations that you have now or can possibly see coming down the road in the future? What parts of your life will you boost to offset those limitations? It's a triumph when you rise above limitations. Let's get more specific. How do you help your mind thrive? Here's a model of a human brain. A lot of what we know about the brain comes in pairs. There are 2 hemispheres. There's 2 reasoning approaches. We talk about left brain and right brain. I'm going to call your attention to 2 aspects of your brain that have to do with thriving. It's a different pair. Think deeply about these 2 words. Your mind to thrive needs to be free and active. Don't let your mind be trapped in painful memories and unresolved hurts. There's no criticism intended here if you struggle with memories of hard experiences. Please don't hear this as fault-finding. Just realize that you can set your mind free. You've had absolutely awful things said and done to you. I wish it weren't true, but everyone has these experiences. Destructive things are said to them and mean things are done to them. Some of us more than others. I wish it didn't happen, but it does. And to thrive, there must be a way to overcome those wounds. If misery loves company, see if this story gives you any comfort. Walt Disney, who gave us Mickey Mouse and Snow White, was once fired from a lowly job at a newspaper because the editor said he had no good ideas. Walt Disney, one of the most creative people in human history? Well, rejection and put-downs are rampant. Awful experiences are like having a rope that's tied around you and making you captive. Will you fight to get free? No, this isn't the same as fighting to get back at a person who hurt you, but fighting to get free. If you'd like to get past old anger, offenses, fear, worry, or any other oppressing thought, here are words of wisdom from the Bible. It says, change or transformation comes from renewing your mind. The way to freedom is to renew your mind. There's no doubt that you have hurts and struggles, and they are real. The way to freedom is renewal. Renew your mind. Now, this is the opposite of replaying painful situations in your mind over and over. Make it a purpose in your life to free your mind. Life gets better with strong purpose. Be determined that you're going to find answers to the long-standing pain points in your life. And there are great resources available. Here's just one example. If you struggle often with gloomy thoughts, you may be afflicted with depression. There's a short test that professional counselors use to assess whether a person has depression. Did you know you can go online and take that same test at no cost in the privacy of your own home? It's from the Anxiety and Depression Association of America. You just go to adaa.org, and in a few minutes, you can privately diagnose whether depression has a hold on you. That's taking a solid first step. You'll need to follow up with other steps, but you're at least on the right path. Now, if your sadness is something else, perhaps a broken family or loss of a loved one, many churches and other community groups offer help. If your distress involves addiction, there are excellent programs like Celebrate Recovery and Alcoholics Anonymous that are widely available and often enormously helpful. Just don't stay trapped. Your mind wants to be free. There's no shame in getting help. I struggled with how to rebuild my life after losing my wife, other family issues, and a big career shift when I reached my third stage of life. Getting help is a good thing. Life can still be rich and robust no matter what the circumstances, but only if your mind is free. Along with being free, your mind needs something else. It needs exercise. Seriously, an active mind is a healthy mind. Dr. Gene D. Cohen says a lot of scientific research confirms the old adage, use it or lose it, when it comes to your brain. He says the mind grows stronger from use and from being challenged in the same way that muscles grow stronger from exercise. How much does this help? To give your brain a good workout? A lot. Exercising your brain can stave off dementia and Alzheimer's. This is from a study of nearly 2,000 people by Mayo Clinic. They found having an active mind pushed back Alzheimer's 9 years. And that's not an isolated success. That's the average effect. Alzheimer's pushed back 9 years? What did that? Activities that worked the mind. I want that advantage, don't you? Now, what activities are rigorous enough to provide such tremendous benefit? There's a popular notion that working crossword puzzles will do the job, but recent studies are finding that those puzzles aren't enough to keep your mind sharp. You need a real challenge. Learn something totally new, or set out to work at something really big. You need to be stretched. It's like physical exercise. If it's too easy, it doesn't really do any good. So really exercise your mind. Be daring. How about trying this? Take a class at Harvard University. Serious. Even if you've never gone to college, you can do it. Harvard University has free courses that you can take at home online. Think of the fun you'll have telling your friends and relatives that you're a student at Harvard. So there are 2 secrets for having your mind thrive. 1, set it free from worry, fear, anger, and sadness. And 2, put your mind to work. Learn to grow. Can you take these steps? Do you see how they will increase your happiness and your chance to thrive? So take a pause here for a few minutes, think about what you've just heard, then come back. We'll have one other big tip about how to thrive.
regularly? You do? It's interesting, they said they don't help much.
Yeah, I know, I was really disappointed to hear that.
But you put together puzzles a lot, and that's works. Well, yeah, Turner puts together hard puzzles. He's
Word find game. Yeah, mind games. Anything that challenges your brain, gets it working. Passive types of, things to do, watching TV. That's good. Looking at your phone, just, for, videos and the like, that they don't help much. Research has shown that they don't help a whole lot. Need stimulation, like new activities, new forms of things. Like, anybody ever thought about going to take a course in art? How to draw, how to do painting? No, sculpting?
I have if you had seen my drawing, you would be asking. I did attempt one time.
Yeah, Eric shared in his book, he had a sister-in-law, I believe, that went, and she started sculpting. And she was in her 70s, never had done anything like that in her whole life. She said, I'm going to take some sculpting classes, and went and made some fantastic sculptures, and they were on display in their community. It was that, yeah, and she never knew, no one knew that she had these hidden abilities. And, what hidden abilities do you have? The thing is to go try them, see what you got, see what you can do. Art studio downtown. And what's, it's challenging. And they're still open there. They've reopened. All right. There's a downtown place on Court Street, if I'm up across from where the fire hall is, on Court Street. And they have all sorts of arts and crafts to learn. They kind of get you set up and set you free. That's good. I don't think they're real expensive either.
Yeah, I practice doing equations on quantum physics as part of my. No, I'm kidding.
Practice
I'm
doing
kidding.
equation quantum physics. Okay, that ought to be stimulating.
The Smithsonian has these programs, and when I say the Smithsonian, they have their work study programs that you can order online and order DVDs of, and it's kind of like some really kind of neat stuff. I would maybe avoid Harvard, maybe look into Hillsborough College as Christians, only because what you may learn at Harvard might be a little different than, but Hillsborough has some good stuff too, so I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, thank you. That's one caveat. There's Harvard can have a worldly tone. What I looked through, they were kind of generic, things that there couldn't be, in the substance of it. It would be very difficult to slant something to portray a political agenda or whatever. But yeah, check out other colleges or just free courses online and be able to have some hits. All right, I'm going to talk about these 3 scenarios and get some impressions from you guys. Case study, moving from, again, these are all 3 from surviving to thriving. My son will not let me live alone any longer because I got completely deaf. According to him, he has picked out the perfect assisted living facility for me. I don't want to move. I don't drive anymore. So I can't see my old friends in the community and church. These people know about my past life, who I was, and what I accomplished. New people will see me as a silent blob. My life is over. The second is, I knew that the doctor was going to say even before he opened his mouth, I have Parkinsonism. It's a death sentence for me. I've always been active. I taught night class schools. I've taken adventure trips with other retirees. Life is fulfilling, but looking at my future, I tell you something now without hesitation. I'd rather die. And the third one is, my husband died Monday. I was a wife with my life and future intact. Tuesday, I was a widow. My life as I knew it was over. I can't cope. I can't handle the long days and even longer nights. Couples who used to be our friends no longer invite me to parties and game nights. I hate this. Without my husband, I am invisible. What's your thoughts on some of these pretty sad scenarios? And what would it take to help these three? What would it help? Coming into their lives, if you know people like this, and just touching base with them, simple things. I'm interested in you and wanting to help them. Because it sounds like their future is very bleak. So, in order to help our minds thrive, we can't allow painful memories and unresolved hurts to keep us captive. We need to renew our minds instead. Another way of putting this is we need to be freeing our minds from the hurts and the pains of the past. Eric mentioned sources that can help us. There are internet links on your Thrive notes this week. At the bottom, there's a couple. Celebrate Recovery. That's not just for alcohol and drug abuse. It's for all sorts of things going on, the personal problems that you're having. The recovery program is a 12-step based program, and meet here on Tuesday nights at 7. If anybody would like to come there, love to have you. Alcoholics Anonymous, if you're having difficulty with drugs and alcohol, and Grief Share is another one. Ask people whether they know these resources could be added. If you have anything else, please speak up right now. You know of any other grief support or any other support group?
Blue Ridge Hospice has grief support groups.
Blue Ridge Hospice, that's here locally. Some of the churches have grief support groups. I think on Wednesday nights, not exactly which one, but there is one, people who have had major losses and in a Christian perspective on how to cope through these times. When we free ourselves from the painful memories and unresolved hurts, addictions, and losses, we will discover that we are active in these three areas of our life. The piece can overlap. With each one we achieve, we can thrive. Purpose, determine what to break free from the past burdens of peace that becomes about when we have peace of mind and heart because we feel free of the hurts. And lastly, pleasure. We can smile at the future with enthusiasm and optimism. All right. Who here listens to music? How often do you listen to music? Every day? Multiple times? All the time? All the time, okay. Well, it's interesting. That's very healthy for your brain, incidentally. Whether you know it or not. Music and brain information. Music makes us smarter. Many scientists believe that music is our first intelligence to develop. Some believe babies' brains come preloaded with musical software, just like laptops are preloaded with applications. Jump ahead decades and decades where we are today. Music remains important. Music may enhance memory and cognitive performance. It helps relieve depression. We are just beginning to understand what part of music plays in our brains. So let's not take any chances. Music is one way that our brains can grow and maintain its strength. Think about that, That was surprising for me. I have music on. If I'm home alone during the week, I have something on, some music going. And in all the rooms, I think I have something in just about every room I'm in. I've turned something on. That constant, it just brings about the air, an atmosphere of great.
If you think about it, and I'm sure, I know I'm not the only one, I'm sure pretty much everyone, I can't remember what I wore yesterday, but I can hear a song I haven't heard in 30 years and remember every word to it. It is the most amazing thing. It just comes back. But you were talking about in memory in general. I belong to an Alzheimer's support group. It's online, and you cannot imagine the videos that people post of their loved ones. And I can think of two right off the bat that they blew my mind. There was a man with Parkinson's who could not, he was using a walker, but he was having a very difficult time just even knowing how to move his legs. His daughter put music on, and she said, "Dad, just dance to it, dance to the beat." He took off across that floor right with the beat of the music. It was the most amazing thing to see. So when she needed him to go somewhere to do something, she would put on music and say, "Daddy, dance to it, hear the beat, hear the beat." He could take off. It blew my mind. And there's another one that, it's a young man in Baltimore. He's taking care of he's not a young man, actually, because his mother is, I think she's in her 90s, and she has Alzheimer's pretty severely. She has deteriorated to the point where she's in a wheelchair, and she can't really speak all that much. But she used to sing in the opera in Baltimore. She was in the symphony. And she had a beautiful singing voice. He's played music that she sang when she was younger. He can put on just about any music now because she loves music. And even though she can't carry on a conversation, she takes off singing these songs word for word. I mean, she's not reading them, she's singing them from her mind, from memory. So I do believe, I don't understand it, but I do believe music must have an amazing effect on our mind, and somehow that is all connected.
Yeah. It's amazing. I experienced the same thing. I can't remember where I put my keys. I put down an hour ago, but a song that I heard back in the 60s, word for word, every verse. We didn't have music when I was growing up. We didn't have any type of music other than church music. And when we got a radio, I mean, I unplug that thing when everyone else was not listening, go up to my room and just hear the AM radio there, my ear to the speaker. Probably remember hearing all the latest tunes. And, try this. Next time you're feeling a little bit down, from whatever, you're having not a great day, put on some uplifting music. See what it does. I know it helps. It does help. And there's such variety. Remember, you used to have to buy a record or wait for it to come up on the radio and hoping that your song would come up. But now you have, with all the different programs, you have so much accessibility to music right at hand. And music can motivate too. And we exercise. I'll have my headphones in, and it really helps. It's distracting, and that's the biggest thing, most important thing I think. And being successful and continuously exercising is distraction, whatever it is. Because let's face it, those muscles hurting. That's not good. But being distracted from those legs hurting or arms or whatever, it takes away some of the pain. And it's over. That's the greatest time when you do your 30-minute or 45-minute routine, and wow, that went quick today. So use music. And there's so many, the little speakers they have, the Bluetooth speakers that are available, they're very inexpensive now. So you really can take music with you everywhere and enjoy it. Okay, we have part 2 playing, please.
Welcome back. Are you ready to make your mind work? Here's a topic for creative thinking. I'll give you the basic idea, then you be creative about how you can make it work for you. By now it's familiar to you, isn't it? Every part of your life becomes happier and stronger when you add purpose, pleasure, and personal peace. How can you add purpose, pleasure, and peace to your relationships? You may be an extrovert, someone who loves being with people and is energized by being around people. Or you may be an introvert, which means being with people a lot of times exhausts you, even if you like people. The fact is, introvert or extrovert, all human beings are social creatures. To be healthy, physically, emotionally, or spiritually, we need to connect with other people. Is anyone thinking, but I enjoy being alone? Sure, that's completely reasonable. Solitude is good for everyone. You may need more or less time alone than the person sitting next to you. The catch is this: too much time alone, isolation, is not healthy for anyone. Never-ending solitude, all alone, all the time, is not a way to thrive. Many people are alone and don't want to be. Do you know that loneliness is an epidemic? I mean a literal health epidemic. That's the opinion of the Surgeon General of the United States. He warned that Americans are facing an epidemic of loneliness and social isolation, and loneliness is terrible for your health. A study by the University of North Carolina found that social isolation is twice as bad for you as being obese. Loneliness weakens your immune system. It raises your risk of heart attack, stroke, and depression. You need other people. A British study concluded that loneliness is about as deadly as smoking. Don't let yourself be isolated. But don't just wish for more friends. Make the first move to make friends yourself. Show an interest in other people and reach out to them. You may have special people who are extremely dear to you, but just not very available. Continue to love them. In addition, build new warm connections with people who are around you. Old friends are the best friends, but if they aren't available to you, make friends with those who are near you. Maybe the next thing you need to do is hug somebody in the room. Let's end with a flashback to that comment from the beginning from Maya Angelou. Surviving is important. Thriving is elegant. So thrive. Thrive with your mind. Thrive with your relationships. Thrive in every way.
An epidemic of loneliness. What do you think about that? Any comments on that?
Well, if we were in an epidemic of loneliness before, COVID has only made it
Yeah.
100 times worse.
COVID has made the loneliness epidemic a lot worse. Absolutely, absolutely. And you think about the people that are shut in. How can they reach out?
I think probably a sign to tie into that is the high amount of suicides that we are seeing through this epidemic, through some of the economics that we've seen, the impact on people's jobs, their families, that kind of thing. And, a huge part of that loneliness is partly we're in this digital age, so you don't get from your iPhone, maybe up here, maybe a little bit, but you don't get what you get when you're with somebody who actually can touch you, look in your eyes, and empathize with you. Yeah. Okay, and there was a period when we came out here to the Valley, and I had been working, but I got laid off from my job, and I was like, well, what am I going to do? So I went back to school, just to pick up a few courses. But I volunteered for the Alzheimer respite facility here they used to have in Edinburgh, and what it did is it helped me take my eyes off myself. Okay, and you turn that around and you're putting it on other people. And even just for the couple days a week, it did me an immense amount of good, as much as good as it did for those folks. And it's not easy to say, okay, well, I'm just going to take myself, take my eyes off myself and my problems and all that, because once you're in depression, it's very, very, very difficult to do that. And so, but I think really a goal would be, as far as, thriving is elegant, is to take your eyes off yourself, put it on others, and you'd be amazed at how you'll get that coming back to make you feel good. So, yeah.
Good points, Matt. Absolutely. I'm going to touch on the suicide rate towards the end here. Absolutely. If you can get involved, depression's so easily treated, and if anybody is feeling like they're depressed, reach out, make your appointment with a healthcare professional, tell them what's going on. There's ways that can help a lot, because you need energy. If you feel like you're going around with the emergency brake on all the time, you don't have energy to walk up the steps or walk down the kitchen to get something to eat. It's difficult, and COVID made it so much worse. So if you know of anybody that's reach out to them, offer them some help, some friendship. Just kind of come over and talk. That's huge, and that might be enough just to help them out a little bit to get going.
I was just also going to mention that if anyone needs counseling of some sort for depression or whatever you're going through, Antioch works with the Life Resource Center, and I think we pay for your first 4 sessions are free if you can't afford or you don't have insurance or whatever. But it's a Christian counselor that could help people as well. So if anyone has a need for that or knows someone that does, you can have them, if you don't have the information for that, you can have them contact the office, Becky or Dale or George or any of the deacons, and we could hook you up with that.
Yeah, it's very, very important. Thank you for bringing that up, Penny. Family Life Resource Center in Harrisonburg offer through Antioch. You don't have to go and let everybody know that you're going to see counseling. It's private, it's kept confidential, and they offer free, we do here, free sessions if you don't have trouble with insurance. And then after that, they can talk about that. Reach out. There's resources here at our church. What place can you think of, though, in our community here that there's a huge pool of loneliness, multiple pools in different facilities in our, what can you think of? One places that are just nursing homes in our area are just, they are just exploding with loneliness. And we started a ministry right before COVID hit, nursing home ministry down here at Greenfield, and it was going strong. The people loved having some of our folks here to have to go down and talk with them. And we had church service, we sang and worshiped God. It was on a Sunday evening, and then it got cut, and still haven't lifted the restrictions.
I was going to mention, all of y'all know that I lived in the hospital about a year ago, and the faculty, the nursing staff, everybody's wonderful, but I was alone in my room probably 20 hours a day, on Christmas Day, on Halloween, 2 weeks after New Year's. And I will say that this church was awesome. I still read my get well cards just because it's like a little warm hug. But my experience is that, yes, the one-on-one person stuff is best, but those cards and the flowers, I still have the potted plant, dish plant, and I talk to it and water it and think of Antioch and just pray a prayer because I'm weird. But for me, my grandkids are far away and we're estranged, and I get to see them about 4 times a year. But Messenger or WhatsApp, I know this won't work for people much older than myself, but my granddaughter sees me on the video and goes, Nana, Nana. So that too, although it keeps us apart sometimes, the electronics, those 2 things and get well cards just got me through a long period of depression. So
Thank you for sharing that, Paula. From the heart, yeah, that's pressures for the heart. The little things sometimes are enormous. Someone that's shut in like that. The impact of COVID-19 pandemic on suicide rates. Kind of touched on that. This is Leo Shearer. Their ongoing study, they don't know what's going to happen. No, honestly, they think they know exactly. They know that things are up. Alcohol and drug abuse are way up. Depression. I mean, all the things, the psychological things, with all the stressors and ongoing things with COVID-19 are still continuing. But this is from an excerpt from his paper on the impact of COVID-19 pandemic. Multiple evidence indicate that COVID-19 pandemic has been profound psychological and social effects. The psychological sequelae of the pandemic will probably persist for months or years to come. Studies indicate that COVID-19 pandemic is associated with distress, anxiety, fear of contagion, uncertainty, chronic stress, and economic difficulties. This, researchers believe, may lead to exacerbation or development of depression, anxiety, substance abuse, and use. COVID survivors may be at an elevated risk of suicide. We just don't quite know yet. Increased suicide rates are likely to be around for quite a long time. And this surprised me, are likely to peak after the pandemic is over. After the pandemic is over. So what do we do? What can we do? What can we do as individuals and as a church? And reaching out to the people in our community. Anybody have any ideas? Cards, yeah, what Paula had just said. Cards, telephone calls, different things. It's so important now because, we're seeing the impacts, but the long-term impacts and what's going to happen down the road. I think, Sue, you mentioned this morning that there were 3 teenage suicides this year so far. Again, the effects of being shut in.
Huge thing is showing our faith and not our fear. I get wearing the masks. I get it. But it's like you're showing your fear. Show your face, show your smile, show your eyes, show your compassion. That's showing your faith, okay? That's not caving in to some of these other ideologies. I get the medical part of it. I get it. And I'm not going to make a political thing out of this, but my point is you can live in faith or you can live in fear. You can show those people about living in faith. You can show your children and your grandchildren about living in faith in lieu of living in fear, okay? If they know Christ, then they won't fear death, okay? We're going to die of something, okay? I mean, it's just the bottom line. We're humans. We're here for a period of time, all right? I'm not saying I want to go anytime sooner. Nobody wants to, but if you live in faith, the quality of your life is going to be so much better than living in fear, okay? Now, our brains are complex things, and we get into that depression and, been there, done that, Paul was a good testimony here. I mean, it's hard. It's, getting through that. So to live in the faith, grow in the Lord and expose other people to that and kind of be a good listener, because I think a lot of times people will give you those messages that I'm not doing too good with this whole thing, and taking your time and maybe just sitting down for 5 minutes, maybe just, a couple things that you might say might change their frame of mind and just make a, light go on, oh, well, okay, I think it's going to be okay. I can't be grounded in this fear that I'm living in with COVID or anything.
Yeah, the thing, either break down or break through. Fear is a paralyzer. Untreated fear, it goes into depression. Eventually, what happens. It's very complex, and, you know, they're looking at it. There are help resources out there, and Valley Health, where my wife and I both, Sue and I both work, have a resource there for help for healthcare providers that are having trouble, and a lot of people are having difficulty through this most difficult time that we've been in my generation, in my lifetime, have ever faced. So what do we do? I mentioned that. Decrease stress, anxiety, fear, and loneliness. And how we best do that is up to us. Reach out. Reach out to someone. Send a card. Make the phone call. Ask if you can come and visit. Right. Yeah. Chocolate chip. Yeah, carrots and celery. Yeah, Sue wants the carrots. I'll chocolate chip cookies, please. Linda was just saying, you know, reach out, come out to yourself and to someone and do something. Yeah, by reaching out, not only do you help them, but you help yourself. And that's an adage that's been around for quite some time.
And
You
that goes
help.
back to purpose, gives you purpose.
Purpose, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, purpose and eventually that peace.
I was going to say two things. One, people have been so lonely during COVID, but I think part of the thing with sort of quote unquote after COVID, when people have gotten back out, I don't think we know how to get along anymore. I just see so much stress and strain between people that I never thought had problems, sort of. And so I think that really has added to it. But another thing I wanted to say is that, coming up to the holidays, there's so many people who have issues with holidays. And I know a young woman who has had a lot of trauma in her life, and she's going through counseling. And so she is coming to a family thing, for Thanksgiving, but Christmas is even harder for her. And so her counselor suggested to her that she volunteer at like the rescue mission to serve a meal for the holidays. And I thought that was just really,
Yeah.
a great suggestion. So
Yeah. Going Wednesday nights, Dale said this morning in service, we need help on Wednesday nights, helping with Blasted, 79 children here, and they have a lot of energy. And if you've ever helped in kids' activities, that they have a lot of energy. Yes, Paula?
I wanted to speak to that because Tony and I were just talking about it this very morning at breakfast. When I was, the last Wednesday I was here, I counted 5 adults other than people who were teaching. And there's the kids fill up from probably this row here in the middle sections. There's like 60 some, 52 to 67 has been the range lately.
Yeah.
And they have they've just gotten done eating. At 5 o'clock, there's maybe 4 or 5 adults in there, and they're all teachers. And some teachers go and prepare their rooms. But I can't tell you the number of times that Pastor Dale has to calm down simply because some finish eating earlier than others. They have to wait till everybody's fed to get seconds, and they run around the room.
Yeah. Yeah.
And from 5 to 5:30, they'll feed you. If you go, you can eat corn dogs. Isn't it great?
You can get away with it.
But
Yeah.
It's a real burden on my heart that if you have 30 minutes in your day in the whole week, and I know I'm talking to the choir, but it may be, I'm just gonna keep saying it to as many people as I can. Because Dale's got them jumping and singing and clapping and saying memory verses, and I mean, it's.
Yeah, I wish we could have heard that on the people out in TV land. But what Paula was saying is he's come here on Wednesday evenings, and they've had so many children here. Teachers got to leave, and there's just not enough help. It's a great opportunity just to show up and be a presence, and they'll give you, something, crowd control, herd control, something. And the children, they do really help you get out of yourself if you're thinking, if you're having them down. They'll bring you out of that with their energy and their. But anyway, that'd be a good opportunity. That's a big outreach request, to help with this ongoing ministry that's growing weekly. And who knows where it's going to cap off. But we're supplying a need to children that's so vital. It's that Christian exposure to Christ that they're not going to get down here in our schools. Any final thoughts? Anything else? I think we're about out of time. Well, thank you all. It's been great. Yes, Linda.
Another good thing for mine to lift your spirits and be thankful. And I think that's so important. We can be thankful for God. Even if we can just think of the smallest thing, start listing things to be thankful for. I think that lifts our spirits. It makes us able to help somebody else.
Yeah, be grateful in all things. And by sharing that grateful with inside, the gratitude that you have, that you'll be able to reach out to other people.
I'm just going to tie into that. Our world and the media and everything is constantly bombarding us with things that they tell us we need to have, we should have. And if we don't have it, then, are we going to be able to survive? So the whole concept, that thought of being thankful, having that mindset of just saying, God, thanks. I feel pretty good today. Had a good sleep. We got food in the fridge. We're going to be having friends and family come over for holidays. And just having that mindset, it's just, you're kind of saying, devil, stay away from me. I don't want you in my life. And, it's changing that frame of mind. And that's what, I think the Lord wants us to have. So I just tie into that. It's just especially with Thanksgiving coming up.
Absolutely. Thank you, man. Attitude of gratitude, as they say, in all things. All right, well, great class this morning. Thank you all for your participation. Let's close with a word of prayer. Lord, thank you for this opportunity to look at these things. Help us to reach out, God. There's a need out there, and give us the energy and strengthen the availability that we need to be able to reach out. And God, thank you for this information, and we love you and help us to be your servants. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.